The phone call came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Naomi had been in the middle of organizing the pantry, something she did when she needed to feel in control of something, anything. Her phone buzzed against the granite countertop, an unknown number flashing across the screen. She almost didn't answer. Spam calls had become so frequent that she trained herself to ignore them. But something made her pick up. Is this Naomi Fletcher? The voice was professional, clipped. Yes, this is she. Mrs. Fletcher, this is County General Hospital. Your husband Troy Fletcher was brought in about an hour ago. There was a car accident. He's stable, but you should come down as soon as possible. The pantry organization suddenly seemed ridiculous. Cans of soup and boxes of pasta blurred in her vision as her heart kicked into overdrive. Is he okay? What happened? The doctor can give you more details when you arrive. He's awake and talking. Room 304 in the emergency wing. Naomi grabbed her keys, her purse, her phone. She didn't bother to change out of her yoga pants and old college t-shirt. Troy was hurt. Nothing else mattered. They'd had a fight that morning about something stupid, she couldn't even remember what, and now guilt twisted in her stomach. What if something worse had happened? What if she'd never gotten the chance to apologize for her sharp words? The drive to County General took 15 minutes but felt like hours. She parked haphazardly and ran through the automatic doors, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. The emergency wing was clearly marked. She followed the signs, her breath coming in short gasps. Room 304. She could see it at the end of the hallway. A nurse stepped out of a nearby station, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and purple scrubs. Can I help you? I'm looking for Troy Fletcher. Room 304. I'm his wife. Something flickered across the nurse's face. Was it pity? Discomfort? It was gone so quickly that Naomi almost thought she'd imagined it. Right? The nurse said slowly. Mr. Fletcher. He's in there, but... She paused, and that pause stretched too long. He's not alone. Not alone. Naomi's mind went to reasonable explanations. His mother. His brother. A co-worker who'd been with him during the accident. Who's with him? The nurse's discomfort was clear now. She shifted her weight, glanced down the hallway, then back at Naomi. Maybe you should just go in. But Naomi's feet had stopped working. Something in the nurse's tone had frozen her to the spot. Who is with my husband? The nurse sighed, and Naomi could see the woman didn't want to be in the middle of whatever this was. She gestured down the hall. Room 304. The woman? She's been here since he arrived. She rode in the ambulance with him. Woman. The word echoed in Naomi's head as she forced her feet to move. Each step felt heavy, like she was walking through water. The door to room 304 was partially open. She could hear voices inside. Troy's voice, rough and tired. And another voice. A woman's voice, soft and sweet. Naomi pushed the door open. The first thing she saw was Troy in the hospital bed, his left arm in a cast, a bandage across his forehead. He looked pale but alive. Relief should have flooded through her. But relief never came. Because sitting beside his bed, her hand wrapped around his good hand, was a woman Naomi had never seen before. She was young, maybe 27 or 28. Beautiful in an effortless way, with smooth brown skin and long braids pulled over one shoulder. She wore a sundress that looked expensive, and her makeup was perfect even though she'd apparently been crying. Her eyes were red and puffy. But it was the way she held Troy's hand that made everything inside Naomi go cold and still. Not the casual grip of a coworker or friend. This was intimate. Possessive. The woman's thumb stroked across Troy's knuckles in a gesture that spoke of habit, of countless times doing this same thing. Naomi, Troy said, and the guilt in his voice confirmed everything before he said another word. The woman's head snapped up. She looked at Naomi with wide eyes, and instead of letting go of Troy's hand, she held on tighter. Like she had a right to be there. Like Naomi was the intruder. Who is this? Naomi's voice came out flat. She felt disconnected from her body, like she was watching this scene happen to someone else. Troy tried to sit up and winced. Naomi, listen, I can explain. I asked who this is. The woman spoke up, her voice shaky. I'm Simone. Oh, we were together when the accident happened. I've been so worried about him. Together. The word landed like a physical blow. Naomi looked at Troy. Really looked at him. And she saw the truth written all over his face. The guilt. The fear. The desperate calculation of a man trying to figure out how to talk his way out of something. How long? Naomi asked. Naomi, not here. Not now. I'm hurt, I need. How long have you been sleeping with her, Troy? Simone gasped, a little wounded sound. She actually looked shocked, like she hadn't understood what she was participating in. Sleeping with Troy, you said you were separated. You said the divorce was almost final. Naomi laughed, a harsh bitter sound that didn't sound like her at all. Separated? We had breakfast together this morning. We had a fight about you taking out the trash. Does that sound separated to you? Simone's face crumpled. She looked at Troy with betrayal in her eyes. You said. Don't, Naomi cut her off. She didn't have space in her chest for this other woman's pain. Her own was taking up all the room. Whatever he told you, it was a lie. We're married. We live together. We share a life. Or I thought we did. She turned back to Troy. He looked small in the hospital bed, smaller than she'd ever seen him. Where was the man she'd loved? Where was the man she'd built a life with? Looking at him now, she couldn't find him anywhere. I want to know how long, Naomi said again. Troy closed his eyes. A year. Maybe a little more. A year. 12 months. 52 weeks. 365 days of lies. Of coming home to her after being with someone else. Of kissing her with a mouth that had kissed another woman. Of promises and plans and a future that was built on absolutely nothing. Naomi felt the floor tilt under her feet, but she locked her knees and stayed standing. She would not fall apart here. Not in front of him. Not in front of her. You know what? Naomi said quietly. I hope you heal up just fine, Troy. I really do. Because you're going to need all your strength for what comes next. Naomi, wait. Troy tried to reach for her with his good hand, but she stepped back. Don't say my name. Don't call me. Don't come home. She looked at Simone, who was crying openly now. You can have him. Congratulations on your prize. She turned and walked out of the room. Her vision was crystal clear. Her steps were steady. She passed the nurse with the kind eyes, who gave her a nod that said she understood. Naomi walked through the emergency wing, through the automatic doors, across the parking lot to her car. She sat in the driver's seat and gripped the steering wheel with both hands. Her phone was already buzzing. Troy's name flashed across the screen. She declined the call. It buzzed again. Declined. Again. She turned off the phone completely. The sun was bright overhead. People walked in and out of the hospital, dealing with their own emergencies, their own crises. The world kept spinning like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Naomi started her car and drove away from County General Hospital, leaving behind the man she'd loved and the life she'd thought she was living. She didn't know what came next. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She was never going back. Naomi drove home on autopilot. She didn't remember making the turns or stopping at red lights. When she pulled into the driveway of the house she'd shared with Troy for 6 years, she sat in the car for a long moment, staring at the cream-colored siding and the porch she'd insisted on painting gray last summer. Everything looked exactly the same. But nothing would ever be the same again. She went inside and the house felt different. Foreign. Like she was seeing it for the first time. The wedding photo on the mantel looked like strangers. The couch they'd picked out together might as well have been a piece from a hotel lobby. Nothing felt like hers anymore. Her phone was still off. She left it that way. Instead, she went upstairs to their bedroom. Their bedroom. The thought made her stomach turn. She opened Troy's nightstand drawer first, not sure what she was looking for but knowing she'd recognize it when she found it. Nothing there but charging cables and expired coupons and a book he'd been meaning to read for 2 years. She checked his dresser drawers. His side of the closet. Under the bed. Nothing jumped out at her. Maybe he was smarter than she'd given him credit for. Maybe he'd kept everything on his phone in his car at the office. Then she remembered his home office. Troy had a small room on the first floor that he used for paperwork and late-night work sessions. She'd rarely gone in there, respecting his space. Now she realized that respect had been a mistake. Privacy was one thing. Secrecy was something else entirely. The office door was unlocked. Inside, everything was neat and organized. Troy had always been particular about his workspace. Naomi sat down at his desk and opened the laptop sitting there. It asked for a password. She tried their anniversary. Wrong. His birthday. Wrong. Her birthday. Wrong. Then on a hunch she tried Simone. The laptop opened. Naomi sat back in the chair, a cold anger spreading through her chest. He'd used that woman's name as his password. The audacity of it was almost impressive. She opened his email first. There were folders she'd never seen before. One labeled Personal. She clicked on it and found hundreds of emails between Troy and Simone. She didn't read them all. She didn't need to. The subject lines told the story. Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again. Hotel confirmation for Friday. Friday. That would have been 3 days ago. Troy had told her he was going to a conference. She'd believed him because why wouldn't she? In 10 years together, she'd never had a reason not to trust him. She opened another folder. This one was labeled Finances. Inside were credit card statements for a card she didn't recognize. She clicked through them, her anger growing with each charge. Dinner at an expensive restaurant. $200. A hotel room downtown. $350. Jewelry from a boutique she'd never heard of. $800. Flowers delivered. $60. Another hotel. Another dinner. Another gift. The charges went back 14 months. Over and over, Troy had spent money on Simone. Money from their accounts. Money that Naomi had helped earn. Money that was supposed to be for their future. She did quick math in her head and felt sick. Thousands and thousands of dollars. Maybe close to $30,000 over the course of the affair. Naomi printed everything. The emails, the statements, the receipts. She created a folder on the desktop and saved copies of every incriminating file she could find. Then she forwarded everything to her personal email address. Her phone buzzed from where she'd left it in the kitchen. She turned it back on without thinking. Now she could hear it going off over and over. Calls and texts and voicemails piling up. She ignored them all. Instead, she called her best friend Rachel. They'd known each other since college, and Rachel had always been honest with her, even when the truth was hard to hear. Naomi. Oh my God, where have you been? Troy's mother called me looking for you. She said something about an accident? What's going on? Naomi's voice was steady when she answered. Troy had a car accident today. He's fine. Broken arm, some bruises. But when I got to the hospital, there was a woman with him. Her name is Simone. They've been having an affair for over a year. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm coming over. No, wait. I need you to listen. I need you to help me think clearly. Naomi looked at the papers spread across Troy's desk. I found evidence. Emails. Receipts. He's been spending our money on her. Lots of it. I need to know what to do next. Rachel's voice shifted from shock to determination. First thing tomorrow morning, you call a lawyer. The best divorce lawyer you can find. You document everything, which it sounds like you're already doing. You protect yourself. You do not let him talk you into anything. I'm not going to forgive him, Naomi said. The words felt good to say out loud. Final. I'm not going to listen to his excuses or his apologies. I'm done. Good, Rachel said firmly. You deserve so much better than this. You always have. They talked for another hour. Rachel gave her the name of a lawyer her cousin had used. She offered to come stay with her, but Naomi said no. She needed to be alone. She needed to think. After they hung up, Naomi went through the rest of the house with new eyes. She found receipts tucked into coat pockets. A second phone hidden in the garage under some tools. When she turned it on, it was full of text messages between Troy and Simone. Sweet words. Promises. Photos she deleted without looking at too closely. It was almost midnight when she finally stopped. The dining room table was covered with evidence. Her evidence. Her ammunition. Her phone had 37 missed calls. 12 from Troy. 10 from his mother. 8 from numbers she didn't recognize, probably the hospital. 7 from friends who'd somehow heard something. She didn't return any of them. Instead, she went upstairs and took every piece of Troy's clothing out of the closet. Every shoe. Every tie. Every jacket. She carried it all downstairs and piled it in the garage. His toothbrush went in the trash. His razor. His cologne. Every trace of him she could find. When she was done, she stood in the middle of the bedroom and looked around. It looked empty now, like half a room. But it also felt lighter. Cleaner. She made up the bed with fresh sheets. She took a long shower. She put on clean pajamas and got into bed, lying in the exact center of the mattress instead of on her usual side. Her phone buzzed again. Another call from Troy. She turned it off and closed her eyes. Tomorrow she would start building her case. Tomorrow she would start the process of untangling her life from his. Tomorrow she would begin the hard work of leaving. But tonight she just needed to sleep. And to know that she was strong enough to do what came next. Because she was. She absolutely was. The law office of Patterson and Associates was located in a tall building downtown, all glass and steel. Naomi sat in the waiting room at 9 a.m. sharp, her folder of evidence on her lap. She'd barely slept, but she looked put together. Professional. She'd chosen a black pantsuit and pulled her hair back. She needed to look like a woman who knew what she wanted. Miss Fletcher? A woman appeared in the doorway. She was in her 40s, with sharp eyes and an even sharper suit. I'm Veronica Patterson. Please come in. The office was exactly what Naomi expected. Leather chairs, heavy desk, wall of law books that probably cost more than Naomi's car. Veronica gestured for her to sit and settled behind the desk with a notepad. Rachel Winters gave me your name, Naomi started. She said you handled her cousin's divorce and did an excellent job. Rachel's cousin. Yes, I remember that case. Veronica picked up a pen. Tell me what's going on. Naomi laid it all out. The hospital. The affair. The year of lies. The money he'd spent. She kept her voice level and factual, like she was describing something that had happened to someone else. Veronica listened without interrupting, making notes. When Naomi was done, she opened the folder and slid it across the desk. I have documentation. Emails. Text messages from a second phone I found. Credit card statements showing charges for hotels and gifts. I printed everything and saved copies to my email. Veronica went through the papers methodically, her expression neutral. When she finished, she looked up at Naomi with something like approval. You've done good work here. Most people come to me emotional and empty-handed. You came prepared. That tells me you're serious about this. I am, Naomi said. I want a divorce. I want it fast and I want what I'm entitled to. Walk me through your marriage. How long? Any children? Assets. We've been married 8 years, together for 10. No children, thank God. We own a house together, bought it 6 years ago. It's worth about $400,000 now. Still have a mortgage. Troy has a business, a marketing consulting firm. I helped him start it. I worked 2 jobs to put him through business school. I did the books for the first 3 years until he could afford to hire someone. We have joint bank accounts, joint credit cards. Some retirement accounts. Veronica made notes. His business is your name on any of the paperwork? Articles of incorporation? Partnership agreements? No, Naomi admitted. He said it would be easier for tax purposes to keep it in his name only. I trusted him. That's unfortunate but not uncommon. However, the fact that you provided financial support while he built the business, that you did labor for the business, that gives us leverage. Courts recognize that a spouse who supports a business is entitled to consideration during divorce proceedings, especially in states with community property laws. Can I get part of the business? Possibly. At the very least, we can argue for an evaluation of the business and a settlement that reflects your contribution. Combined with the evidence of misuse of marital funds, we have a strong case. Veronica leaned back in her chair. Here's what I need from you. Bank statements for all joint accounts going back 2 years. Mortgage documents. Any paperwork related to his business that you have access to. Your tax returns. I'll file for divorce and request temporary orders for exclusive use of the marital home. Has he tried to contact you? Constantly. Calls, texts. I haven't answered. Good. Keep it that way. All communication goes through me now. If he shows up at the house, you call the police. You do not engage with him. You do not listen to his apologies or explanations. Everything he says to you can and will be used to manipulate you. Understand? Naomi nodded. She liked Veronica. The woman was direct, no nonsense. She didn't waste time on sympathy or trying to save the marriage. She treated this like what it was, a business transaction that had gone bad. One more thing, Veronica said. The other woman, Simone. Do you want to pursue alienation of affection? What's that? In some states, you can sue a third party for interfering in a marriage. It's not common and it's difficult to win, but given the financial evidence and the length of the affair, we might have a case. Naomi thought about it. Simone's face in that hospital room. The way she'd held Troy's hand like she had a right to. The shock when she realized Troy had lied to her too. No, Naomi said finally. She's not worth my time or energy. Troy is the one who made vows to me. He's the one who broke them. Let her keep him if she wants him. My focus is on getting what I'm owed and moving on. Smart, Veronica said. Revenge is expensive and usually unsatisfying. Living well is the better option. She stood and extended her hand. I'll draw up the papers and have them ready to file by tomorrow. Once they're filed, he'll be served. That's when things might get ugly. He'll try to contact you. He'll make promises. He might get angry. Stay strong. Don't engage. Naomi shook her hand. I won't. I'm done with him. She left the office feeling lighter. She had a plan now. She had someone fighting for her. This wasn't just pain and betrayal anymore. This was action. Her phone rang as she walked to her car. Troy's mother. Naomi almost declined it, then decided to answer. She couldn't avoid his family forever. Naomi. Finally. Where have you been? Troy has been trying to reach you. He's so upset. He's home from the hospital and he says you won't answer his calls. What's going on? Home. Her house was not his home anymore. Mrs. Fletcher, I'm sure Troy told you what happened at the hospital. He said there was a misunderstanding. That you jumped to conclusions. Honey, he's hurt and confused and he needs his wife right now. Whatever you think happened, I'm sure you two can work it out. Naomi took a deep breath. Troy's mother had always been kind to her, but she was also the type of woman who believed marriage was forever, no matter what. There's no misunderstanding, Naomi said clearly. Troy has been having an affair for over a year. I have proof. I've hired a lawyer and I'm filing for divorce. I'm sorry you're caught in the middle of this, but my marriage to your son is over. Silence. Then, you're being hasty. Every marriage has rough patches. You don't throw away years together because of one mistake. 1 year of mistakes, Naomi corrected. 1 year of lies. 1 year of him spending our money on another woman. I'm not being hasty. I'm being smart. I hope you understand that. Naomi, please. Just talk to him. Just give him a chance to explain. I have to go. Take care of yourself, Mrs. Fletcher. She hung up before Troy's mother could say anything else. She felt bad about that, a little. But she couldn't let anyone pull her backward. Not now. When she got home, she spent the rest of the day gathering documents. Bank statements. Tax returns. The deed to the house. Her marriage certificate. Everything Veronica had asked for and more. She found her own paperwork too. Her old college transcripts showing the business degree she'd earned while working full-time. Pay stubs from the 2 jobs she'd worked to support them. A notebook where she'd done the accounting for Troy's business in those early years, page after page of her handwriting tracking income and expenses. She'd built this life. She'd made it possible for Troy to succeed. And he'd repaid her by lying to her face for a year while he played house with someone else. By evening, she had everything organized and ready to deliver to Veronica first thing in the morning. She ordered takeout for dinner and ate it sitting on the couch, watching a show she'd wanted to see but Troy had always said was boring. It was actually pretty good. Around 9 p.m., headlights swept across the front windows. A car pulled into the driveway. Naomi's heart jumped, but she stayed on the couch. The doorbell rang. Then knocking. Then Troy's voice. Naomi, I know you're in there. Please just talk to me. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. She muted the TV but didn't move. Naomi, come on. This is ridiculous. I made a mistake, okay? I know I did. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work through it. Just open the door. His voice was desperate, pleading. She'd heard him use that tone before when he was trying to close a deal with a difficult client. It was calculated. Practiced. She turned the volume back up on the TV. More knocking. More pleading. Then silence. She heard his car door open and close. The engine started. He sat there for another 5 minutes before finally backing out of the driveway. Naomi went to the window and watched his taillights disappear down the street. Then she locked the front door, turned off all the lights and went upstairs to bed. Tomorrow the papers would be filed. Tomorrow it would all become official. But tonight she'd stood her ground. And that felt like the first real victory. Naomi couldn't sleep. At 2 in the morning she gave up and went downstairs to make tea. While the water boiled, she found herself standing in the doorway of Troy's office, looking at the desk where she'd found all the evidence just days ago. She thought back to the beginning. 10 years ago. She'd met Troy at a friend's party. He'd been charming, funny, full of big dreams. He wanted to start his own marketing firm. He had ideas and ambition but no money and no degree. Naomi had been working as an administrative assistant, saving money, taking night classes to finish her own business degree. They'd fallen fast. Within 6 months they were living together. Within a year they were engaged. Troy talked about the future constantly, painting pictures of the life they'd build together. And Naomi, young and in love and believing in him, had signed up for all of it. She remembered the conversation when he'd said he wanted to go back to school. It's 2 years for an MBA, he'd said. Full-time. I can't work and do the program, it's too intense. But once I have the degree I can start the business. We can really build something. How are we going to pay for it? Naomi had asked. Tuition is expensive. And if you're not working? You could pick up extra hours, right? Or get a second job. Just for 2 years. I'll make it up to you, I promise. Once the business takes off, you'll never have to work again if you don't want to. She'd done it. She'd picked up a second job, working retail on weekends. She'd gone to her own classes at night, dead tired but determined to finish her degree. She'd packed Troy's lunches and helped him study and listened to him practice presentations. She believed in him. When he graduated, she'd been in the audience, cheering louder than anyone. They'd gotten married a month later, a small ceremony because they didn't have money for anything elaborate. Naomi had worn a simple dress and they'd had the reception at a friend's backyard. Then came the business. "I need capital," Troy had said. "Startup costs. Equipment, website, marketing materials. And I need to be able to support us for at least 6 months while I get clients." Naomi had taken out a loan using her credit. She kept working both jobs. Troy had worked from home, making calls, building a client list, creating presentations. And Naomi had done the books because they couldn't afford to hire anyone. She remembered sitting at this very desk, learning accounting software, tracking every dollar in and every dollar out. She'd caught errors that could have cost them. She'd managed the finances while Troy managed the creative side. The business had grown slowly. 1 client. Then 3. Then 10. After a year, Troy landed a big contract with a local company. Suddenly there was real money coming in. He'd hired his first employee. Then a second. Then they'd moved the operation out of the house and into a small office. "You can quit the retail job," Troy had told her. "Focus on your work. We're stable now." She had. She'd kept doing the books for another year, but eventually Troy hired a proper accountant. Naomi had been relieved. She'd gotten a better job, a position with a nonprofit that paid decently and had good benefits. Her own career had started to develop. She'd been proud of them. They were building a life together. They'd bought this house. They'd talked about starting a family someday. Everything had seemed perfect. But thinking back now, Naomi could see cracks she'd ignored. Troy working late more and more often. Troy taking business trips that seemed unnecessary. Troy becoming secretive about his phone. When had it started? When had he decided she wasn't enough? When had he looked at everything she'd sacrificed for him and decided it didn't matter? She thought about Simone. Young, pretty, probably impressed by Troy's success. She didn't know that success existed because of Naomi. She didn't know about the 2 jobs or the loans or the nights of doing accounting work after a full day of her own work. Simone had gotten the finished product. The successful businessman with a nice car and expense account dinners. She hadn't had to build him up from nothing. The kettle whistled. Naomi went to make her tea, but instead of drinking it, she dumped it down the sink. She wasn't tired. She was angry. She went back to Troy's office and turned on his computer. It still opened to Simone's name. She went through his business files now, looking with different eyes. The company was worth something. Troy had 6 employees. He had ongoing contracts with a dozen clients. The revenue last year had been over $800,000. After expenses and payroll, Troy's personal income had been close to $200,000. $200,000. And he'd spent $30,000 of it on his mistress. Naomi opened a document labeled Business Plan 2025. She read through it. Troy was planning to expand. Hire more staff. Move to a bigger office. He projected revenue of over $1 million next year. She'd helped build this. She'd made it possible. Now she was going to take her share. She printed the business plan. She printed financial statements. She printed everything that showed the company's worth. She added it all to her folder for Veronica. When dawn started to break through the windows, Naomi was still at the desk, surrounded by papers. She'd documented everything. The timeline of the business. Her contributions. The loans she'd taken. The work she'd done. The sacrifices she'd made. This wasn't just about the affair anymore. This was about justice. About being compensated for her labor and her faith in her partnership. Troy had treated her like she was disposable. Like her years of support meant nothing. Like he could just replace her with someone shinier and newer and it wouldn't matter. He was about to learn how much it mattered. She gathered everything and put it in a box. She'd take it to Veronica today. And then she'd start thinking about her own future. Not their future. Not the future Troy had promised. Her own. She'd spent 10 years building someone else's dream. It was time to build her own. Veronica called 3 days later. The papers have been filed and Troy has been served. How are you holding up? Naomi was sitting in her living room, laptop open, working on something that had been growing in her mind since that sleepless night. I'm okay. Has he responded? Not formally yet. He has 30 days to respond. But I've already received calls from a lawyer claiming to represent him. Someone named Michael Barnes. Do you know him? No. Expensive lawyer. Corporate type. Troy is taking this seriously. Veronica's tone suggested this was good news. That means he knows he's in trouble. I've sent Barnes all our documentation about the affair and the misuse of marital funds. I've also included your records of contributions to his business. We've requested a full evaluation of Fletcher Marketing Consulting. What does that mean? It means we bring in a professional to assess what the business is worth. Then we negotiate your share. Given your contributions, both financial and labor, I think we have a strong case for at least 30% of the business value. 30%. Naomi did quick math. If the business was worth $1 million or more, 30% was serious money. What about the house? That's easier. You both own it. We'll push for you to keep the house and for Troy to buy out your share of the equity, or we sell it and split the proceeds. Given his behavior, I think we can make a strong case for you keeping it. You'll need to refinance in your name only, but with your income and credit, that should be doable. And the money he spent on Simone? That's marital asset dissipation. We're demanding reimbursement. He spent approximately $32,000 on his affair partner. That's $32,000 that should be returned to the marital estate and split between you. Or more likely, we'll use it as leverage in the overall settlement. Naomi felt satisfaction settle in her chest. This was happening. It was real. There's something else, Veronica said. I got a call from Mrs. Fletcher, Troy's mother. She asked if she could speak to you. What did you say? I told her all communication goes through me. She said Troy is devastated. That he's remorseful. That he wants to go to counseling. He wants to save his business, not our marriage. That's my read too. Veronica paused. Naomi, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to get harder before it gets easier. Troy is going to try everything. Apologies, promises, maybe even threats. He might show up at your house again. He might try to use mutual friends to reach you. Stay strong. I will, Naomi promised. After they hung up, Naomi went back to her laptop. She'd been working on a business plan of her own. Something that had crystallized in her mind after going through all those records of Troy's business. She knew marketing. She'd learned it by osmosis, by doing Troy's books, by listening to him talk about campaigns and strategies for years. She understood business operations. She had a degree in business herself, one she'd earned while working 2 jobs. Why shouldn't she start her own consulting business? Not marketing. Something different. Something she'd be good at. Business consulting for women entrepreneurs. She'd seen the statistics. Women-owned businesses had a harder time getting funding, getting taken seriously, getting access to the networks that men had naturally. Naomi could help with that. She could offer strategic planning, financial management, operational support. She could help other women avoid the mistakes she'd made. Avoid supporting a partner who'd take everything and give nothing back. She spent the afternoon refining her business plan. She researched the market. She looked at competitors. She drafted a list of services she could offer. She even sketched out a logo. Felt good. Felt like hers. Around 5 p.m. a car pulled up outside. Naomi looked out the window and saw Troy getting out. Her stomach tightened, but she stayed calm. He walked up to the front door. She met him there before he could knock, opening the door but standing in the doorway so he couldn't come in. He looked terrible. His arm was still in a cast. He had circles under his eyes and he'd lost weight. His clothes hung on him differently. Naomi, he said, and his voice cracked. Please. We need to talk. Talk to my lawyer. Don't do this. Don't throw away 10 years because of one mistake. I love you. I know I screwed up, but I love you. You spent a year lying to me. You spent our money on another woman. You made me look like a fool. That's not one mistake, Troy. That's a series of choices. I'll end it with Simone. It's already over. I told her that. She means nothing to me. Naomi felt a flash of anger, not for herself but for Simone. She means nothing? You spent a year with her. You told her you loved her. You bought her gifts. You took her to hotels. And now she means nothing? That's who you are. That's what I finally see. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Naomi's voice rose. I worked 2 jobs so you could get your degree. I took out loans so you could start your business. I did your books for free for 3 years. I built that business as much as you did. And you thanked me by cheating on me and spending our money on your mistress. Don't talk to me about fair. Troy's face shifted. She saw the moment he realized she wasn't going to cry or beg or forgive. He saw the determination in her face. You're going after my business, he said flatly. I'm taking what I'm owed. That business is mine. I built it. We built it. And now you're going to pay me for my half. His expression hardened. You're going to regret this. Is that a threat? It's a fact. You think you can just destroy my livelihood? You think I'm going to let you take everything I've worked for? You should have thought about that before you cheated on me. Naomi stepped back and started to close the door. Don't come back here. Don't call me. My lawyer has all the evidence. You're going to lose, Troy. Accept it. She closed the door in his face and locked it. She heard him standing there for a minute, then his footsteps retreating. His car door slammed. The engine revved angrily. He peeled out of the driveway fast enough to leave rubber on the pavement. Naomi's hands were shaking. She went to the kitchen and poured herself a glass of water. Her phone rang. Rachel. Hey. You okay? I drove past your house and saw Troy's car outside. He was here. Tried to talk me into forgiving him. When that didn't work, he threatened me. Threatened you how? Said I'd regret going after his business. Said he won't let me take everything he's worked for. You need to document that. Tell your lawyer. If he's making threats, you might need a restraining order. I'll call Veronica in the morning. Naomi sat down at the kitchen table. Rachel, am I doing the right thing? Are you seriously asking me that? He looked so broken. Part of me feels guilty. Stop. Listen to me. He made choices. He knew what he was doing. He knew he was risking everything and he did it anyway. You are not responsible for the consequences of his actions. You are not being cruel. You're being smart. And you're being strong. Don't let him manipulate you into feeling guilty for protecting yourself. You're right. I know you're right. Damn right I'm right. Now what are you doing this weekend? Because you're not sitting in that house alone. They made plans. Rachel would come over Saturday with takeout and wine and terrible reality TV. It was exactly what Naomi needed. After they hung up, Naomi went back to her laptop and her business plan. She added another section about the services she could offer. She researched business licenses and insurance. She looked into website designers. By the time she went to bed, she had a complete draft. Fletcher Consulting. No. She didn't want his name attached to her future. She thought about it and smiled. Phoenix Consulting. Rising from the ashes. Perfect. The business community in their city wasn't huge. Word traveled fast. Naomi learned this when she ran into Daniel Chen at the coffee shop near her house. Daniel was a business associate of Troy's, someone she'd met at company events over the years. Naomi, he said, looking uncomfortable. I heard about you and Troy. I'm sorry. She ordered her coffee and turned to face him. Thank you. For what it's worth, I always thought you two were solid. This came as a shock to a lot of people. It was a shock to me too, Naomi said dryly. Daniel shifted his weight. Look, I don't know if I should say this, but I think you should know. There's been talk. About Troy. Some of us had suspicions, but we didn't want to believe it. Suspicions about the affair? Yeah. He'd show up at networking events with Simone sometimes. Introduced her as a business contact. But the way they acted, it seemed like more. A few people asked me if you two had split up. I told them no, that I'd just seen you both at the charity gala last month. Naomi remembered that gala. She'd worn a new dress. Troy had told her she looked beautiful. 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. They'd smiled Naomi for photos. Had been in the middle of organizing the pantry, he'd been carrying something she did when she needed to feel in control of something. Naomi asked. Did anyone buzz to mention that my husband was parading around with another flashing across the screen? Daniel had the grace to look ashamed. She almost didn't answer. No one wanted to start rumors if we were wrong. Frequent that she trained herself to ignore them. Knew. But something made her stay together despite, is this Naomi Fletcher? The voice was professional. The word tasted bitter. Yes, this is she. We didn't have an arrangement. Mrs. Fletcher. We had a marriage. This is County General Hospital. I thought we did. Your husband, Troy Fletcher, was brought in about an hour ago. She grabbed it and started to leave, there was a car Daniel touched her arm. He's stable, but you should come down as soon as possible. People. The pantry organization suddenly seemed ridiculous. He's telling everyone you're overreacting. Cans of soup and boxes that it was just a flirt in her vision as her heart kicked into overdrive. He's saying you're trying to destroy his business out of spite. What happened? Naomi the doctor can give you more details when you arrive. Of course he is. He's awake but and talking. But a lot of people aren't buying Room 304 especially the ones who remember how you helped Naomi him get grabbed started. Her keys, her My purse, wife said you worked 2 jobs while he was in school. She didn't bother to change out of her yoga pants and old college t-shirt. Daniel pulled out his phone. Nothing else mattered. I run a networking group for entrepreneurs. They'd had a fight that morning about something stupid. Women. She couldn't even remember what. I'd like to give you the contact info for the woman who organizes it. What if something worse had happened? Felicia. What if she'd never gotten the chance to apologize for her sharp words? The drive to County General took 15 minutes but felt like hours. Troy was trying to control the narrative. She parked haphazardly and ran through the automatic doors. He couldn't let people know the truth. Squeaking on the polished floor. It would hurt his reputation, his business. The emergency wing was clearly marked. So he was spinning it as her being emotional and unreasonable. Her breath coming in short gasps. She thought about it all day. Room 304. By evening, she'd made a decision. She could see it at the end of the hallway. She wasn't going to be quiet. A nurse stepped out of the nearby station. A woman
If he
in
wanted
her
to tell
50s with
lies
kind
about her,
eyes and
she'd
purple
tell the truth
scrubs.
about him.
Can I help
She
you?
opened her computer
I'm looking
and
for
logged
Troy
into her
Fletcher.
social media.
Room 304.
She'd never been very
I'm
active
his
on
wife.
there, but she had a few
Something
hundred
flickered
connections.
across the nurse's
People
face.
from college, from
Was it
work,
pity?
from Troy's
Discomfort?
business circle. It was
She
gone
wrote a
so
post.
quickly that Naomi
She kept it
almost thought
factual
she'd
and
imagined
simple.
it. Some of
Right?
you have heard
The
that
nurse
Troy
said
and I are
slowly,
divorcing.
Mr.
I
Fletcher.
want to set the record
He's
straight.
in there, but
After 10 years
she
together,
paused, and
I
that pause
discovered
stretched
Troy
too
had been
long.
having an affair for
He's
over
not
a year.
alone.
I found
Not
evidence
alone.
that he spent more
Naomi's
than
mind went to
$30,000
reasonable
of our marital
explanations.
funds on his affair
His
partner.
mother.
I
His
am
brother.
divorcing him and
A coworker
pursuing my
who'd been
rightful
with him
share
during
of the
the
business I
accident.
helped build.
Who's with him?
I'm not being
The
vindictive.
nurse's discomfort
I'm
was
being
clear
fair.
now.
I'm
She
sharing
shifted
this
her
because
weight,
Troy has
glanced
been
down
spreading
the hallway,
false
then back
narratives
at
about
Naomi.
me. I
Maybe
deserve
you should
better.
just go in.
And I'm done
But
protecting
Naomi's
men who
feet had
lie.
stopped working.
She hesitated
Something
for
in the
only
nurse's
a moment
tone
before
had frozen
frozen her
host.
to the spot.
Within minutes,
Who is with my
comments started
husband?
appearing.
The nurse
Support
sighed,
from
and
women
Naomi
she
could
barely
see the
knew.
woman didn't want to
Anger
be in
at
the
Troy
middle of
from
whatever
people
this
who'd
was.
worked with him.
She
A
gestured
few
down the
neutral
hall.
comments telling
Room
her to handle
304.
it privately.
The woman,
and one
she's been
comment
here
from
since he
Troy's
arrived,
mother,
begging
she
her to
rode
take
in
it
the
down.
ambulance with him.
She left the post up.
The word
Her phone
echoed in
started
Naomi's
ringing
head as she
immediately.
forced her feet to
Rachel
move.
first.
Each step
Oh my
felt
God, I
heavy
just saw
like she
you
was
post.
walking through water.
Are you okay?
The door to room
I'm fine.
304 was
I'm tired of
partially
being
open.
quiet.
She could hear
Good for you.
voices inside.
Seriously.
Troy's
He
voice
deserves
rough
to
and
be
tired.
exposed. And another
More
voice.
calls came in.
A woman's voice,
Some friends,
soft
some
and
acquaintances.
sweet. Naomi
One call
pushed
from
the
a
door
woman
open.
she didn't know.
The first thing
Is
she
this
saw was
Naomi
Troy in the
Fletcher?
hospital bed.
My name is
his
Felicia
left arm in a
Washington.
cast. Daniel
A
Chen
bandage
gave me
across
your
his
number.
forehead.
I run a
He looked
women's
pale but
business
alive.
networking group.
Relief should
I
have
saw your
flooded
post.
through her.
Would you
But
be
relief
willing to
never
meet
came.
for coffee?
Because sitting
They met
beside
the next
his bed,
day.
her
Felicia
hand
was a
wrapped around
woman
his
in her
good hand,
50s, was a woman
confident
Naomi
and
had
warm.
never seen before.
She owned a small business
She was
coaching
young,
company.
maybe 27
I've
or
known
28.
Troy for years.
Beautiful in
Felicia
an
said.
effortless way,
Worked
with
with him on a
smooth
few
brown
projects.
skin and long braids
I always got
pulled
a
over one
slimy
shoulder.
feeling from him, if I'm
She
honest.
wore a sundress that
Too
looked
charming.
expensive,
Too
and her
smooth.
makeup was
But
perfect
I didn't know
even
you
though
were
she'd
behind his
apparently
early
been crying.
success.
Her eyes
I'm
were
not
red
looking
and
for
puffy.
credit,
But it was the
Naomi
way
said.
she held Troy's
I'm
hand
just
that made
looking for
everything
what's
inside
fair.
Naomi go
More
cold
women
and
should
still.
ask for what's
Not
fair.
the casual grip
That's why
of a
I wanted
coworker
to
or
meet
friend.
you.
I
This
saw
was
on your
intimate.
profile that you have a
Possessive.
business degree.
The woman's thumb
Have you thought
stroked
about
across
what's next
Troy's
for you?
knuckles in a gesture
Naomi
that spoke
told
of
her
habit,
about Phoenix
of countless
Consulting,
times doing the
about
same
her
thing.
idea to help
Naomi,
women entrepreneurs.
Troy said.
Felicia
Felicia
listened
listened his voice
intently.
confirmed
I
everything
love it,
before
she
she
said
said another word.
And I can help
The woman's
you.
head
I
snapped
have
up.
connections.
She looked
I
at
can
Naomi
introduce
with
you to
wide
women
eyes,
who need
and instead of
exactly
letting
what
go
you're
of Troy's
offering.
hand, she
Let
held
me
on
mentor
tighter.
you through the startup
Like she had a
phase.
right to be there.
Why would you do
Like
that?
Naomi was the
Because I
intruder.
was where you were
Who
20
is
years
this?
ago.
My
Naomi's
ex-husband
husband
took
came out
everything.
flat. Left
She
me
felt
with 2 kids and
disconnected
nothing
from her
else.
body,
I had
like
to
she was
build from
watching the
scratch.
scene happen to
Someone
someone
helped me
else.
then.
Troy
I'm
tried
paying
to
it
sit
forward.
up and winced.
Felicia
Naomi,
pulled out
listen,
her phone.
I can explain.
Give me your email.
I asked who
I'm
this
sending
is.
you information
The woman
about
spoke
grants
up,
and
her
programs
voice
for women
shaking.
entrepreneurs.
I'm Simone.
And I'm inviting you to speak
we
at
were
our
together
next
when the
networking
accident
event.
happened.
Tell your story.
I've been so worried
You'll
about
be
him.
surprised how many
Together.
women need to hear
The
it.
word landed like a
Naomi
physical
left
blow.
that meeting feeling
Naomi
something
looked
she
at
hadn't
Troy.
felt in weeks.
Really looked at him.
And
Over
she
the
saw
next
the
few
truth
days,
written
the
all over
fallout
his
continued.
face. The
Troy's
guilt,
business took
the
a
fear.
hit.
The
Two of his
desperate
clients
calculation
canceled
of their
their
man trying to
contracts.
figure out how
One
to
of
talk
them,
his way
a
out of
woman-owned
something.
skincare company,
How long?
released a statement
Naomi
saying
asked.
they couldn't in good
Naomi,
conscience
not here.
work with someone who
Not
treated
now.
his wife
I'm
so
hurt.
poorly.
I need.
Troy's
How
employee
long
quit.
have you been sleeping
Her
with
name
her,
was
Troy?
Jennifer, and she sent
Simone
Naomi an
gasped,
email.
a little wounded
I've
sound.
worked for Troy for 3
She
years.
actually looked shocked.
I always thought
like
he was
she
a good
hadn't
boss.
understood what she was
But after hearing what he
participating in.
did to you, I
Sleeping
can't
with
respect him.
Troy, you said
I'm
you were
leaving and I
separated.
wanted you to know
You
I
said the
support
divorce
you.
was almost
Troy
final.
called Naomi's
Naomi
phone 15
laughed,
times in
a
one
harsh,
day.
bitter sound
She
that didn't
didn't
sound
answer.
like her at all.
He sent texts that
Separated
ranged from
We
apologetic
had breakfast
to angry
together
to
this
desperate.
morning.
We
She
had a
blocked
fight
his
about you
number.
taking out the trash.
His lawyer contacted
Does that
Veronica.
sound separated to
They
you?
wanted to negotiate.
Simone's face crumpled.
They're offering you the
She
house
looked at
free
Troy
and
with
clear,
betrayal in
plus
her eyes.
$50,000.
You said,
Veronica
"Don't."
told her. Naomi
No
cut her
claim
off.
to the business.
She
didn't have space
No,
in her chest
Naomi
for this
said.
other woman's pain.
That's not enough.
Her own was
I want
taking
the
up all
business
the room.
evaluation.
Whatever he
I want
told
my
you,
fair
it was a
share.
lie. We're
Good.
married.
I told them
We
that.
live together.
They're
We
scrambling.
share a life. Troy's
Or I
company
thought
is
we
losing
did.
money and
She
reputation.
turned back to Troy.
He needs to settle
He
this
looked
fast.
small in the hospital
Let him
bed,
scramble,
smaller than she'd
Naomi
ever
said.
seen him. I'm in
Where
no
was the
hurry.
man she'd loved?
She wasn't.
Where was the man
Because
she
while
built a
Troy's
life
world
with?
was falling
Looking
apart,
at him now,
hers
she
was
couldn't
coming
find
together.
him anywhere. She
I
filed
want to know how
paperwork
long,
for Phoenix
Naomi
Consulting.
said again.
She designed
Troy
her
closed
website.
his eyes.
She
A
lined
year.
up her first
Maybe
3
a little
clients
more.
through Felicia's
A year.
network.
12
She
months.
rented a small office
52
space.
weeks.
She bought business
365
cards.
days of
She was
lies.
building something.
Of coming home
Something
to her
that was
after being with
entirely
someone
hers.
else. Something
Of
no one
kissing
could
her
take
with a
away.
mouth that had kissed
And it
another
felt better
woman.
than any revenge
Of
could have.
promises and plans
3
and a
months
future that
after
was
walking
built
out
on
of that
absolutely
hospital
nothing.
room,
Naomi
sat
felt
in
her
her
new
floor
office
tilt
and
under
looked
her
around
feet,
with
but she
satisfaction.
locked her knees and
It was
stayed
small,
standing.
just one room
She
in a
would not
shared
fall apart
workspace
here,
building, but it was
not
hers.
in front of him.
The desk
Not in
she
front
bought
of her.
herself.
You
The
know what?
laptop,
Naomi
the
said
filing
quietly.
cabinet. The
I hope
plant
you
in the
heal up
corner
just
that
fine,
she
Troy.
remembered to water
I really
most
do.
of the time. Because you're
On
going
the
to
wall,
need all
she'd
your
hung her
strength for
business
what comes
license.
next.
Phoenix
Naomi,
Consulting,
wait.
LLC.
Troy tried to reach for her
Registered
with
in
his
official.
good hand, but she
She had
stepped
4
back.
clients now.
Don't. Her
Don't
first
say my
client,
name.
Angela,
Don't call
owned a
me.
catering
Don't
business
come
and
home.
needed help with
She
financial
looked at
planning.
Simone, who was
Her
crying
second
openly
client,
now.
Priya,
You can
was
have him.
starting an online
Congratulations
boutique
on
and needed
your prize.
operational systems.
She turned and
Her
walked
third
out of
and
the room.
fourth had come through
Her vision
Felicia's
was crystal
networking
clear.
group. Both
Her
women
steps were
looking to
steady.
scale their small
She
businesses.
passed the nurse with the
The
kind
work
eyes,
was challenging
who gave
and
her a nod
satisfying
that
in a
said
way
she
her
understood.
old job had never been.
Naomi walked
She was
through the
helping
emergency
people build
wing
their dreams
through the automatic
but this time
doors
she was
across
being
the
paid
parking
fairly
lot
for
to
her
her
car.
She was
She
being
sat in the
valued.
driver's seat
Her phone
and gripped
buzzed.
the steering wheel
A
with
text
both
from
hands.
Rachel.
Her phone
Lunch
was
today?
already buzzing.
I have news.
Troy's name flashed
They met
across
at a
the
small
screen.
restaurant downtown.
She declined the call.
Rachel was glowing.
Buzzed again.
Okay, Spill.
Declined, Naomi
Again.
said.
She
What's
turned
the
off the
news?
phone completely.
I got the
The
promotion.
sun was bright
Senior
overhead.
project manager.
People walked in and out of the
20%
hospital,
raise.
dealing with
taking
their
you
own
out to
emergencies,
celebrate.
their own crises.
Rachel, that's amazing.
The world kept spinning
Naomi
like
hugged
nothing
her
had
friend.
changed.
You've been
But
working
everything had
toward this for
changed.
2 years.
Naomi started
know.
her car and
And you
drove
know what
away
helped?
from County General
Watching
Hospital,
you walk away from
leaving
Troy
behind
and
the
start
man
over.
she'd loved and
You
the life she
inspired me.
thought she was
I
living.
stopped taking
She
less
didn't
than
know
I
what
deserved
came
and I
next,
asked for more.
but she knew one
and
thing
I got
would
it.
absolute certainty.
They ordered food and
She was
talked.
never going back.
Rachel caught her up on
Naomi
mutual
drove home
friends
on
on
autopilot.
drama at her office.
She didn't remember
on her
making
ongoing
the turns or
disaster of a
stopping at
dating
red
life.
lights. It felt
When she
normal.
pulled into the driveway of
good.
the house she'd
How's
shared
the
with Troy
divorce
for
going?
6 years,
Rachel
she sat
asked
in the car
carefully.
for a long moment,
Almost done.
staring at the
Veronica
cream-colored
is
siding
brilliant.
and the porch
The
she'd
business
insisted on
evaluation
painting
came
gray
back
last
and
summer.
Troy's company is
Everything
worth
looked
more than
exactly
he
the
claimed.
same.
We're
But
settling
nothing
for
would ever be the
40%
same
of
again.
the business value.
She went
plus
inside
the
the
house felt different.
plus reimbursement for the money he
like she
spent
was
on
seeing
Simone.
it for the first time.
40%.
The wedding photo
That's
on the mantle
huge.
looked like strangers.
It's what I'm owed.
The couch
The
they picked out
evaluator
together
found
might
that
as
I
well
was
have been a piece
instrumental
from
in
a
the business
hotel lobby.
formation.
Nothing
My
felt like
loans,
hers
my
anymore.
labor, my support.
Her phone was still
It all
off.
counted.
She left it
Troy
that
is
way.
furious, but
Instead,
his lawyer
she
told
went
him
upstairs
to
to
take the
their
deal.
bedroom. How much
Their
are we
bedroom.
talking?
The thought made her
About
stomach turn.
$300,000 total.
She
once
opened Troy's
everything is
nightstand
settled and
drawer
sold.
first.
Not sure what she was
life-changing
looking
money,
for,
but
but
enough
knowing
to give
she'd
me a real
recognize it when she
foundation.
found it. I'm putting
Nothing
half
there
into the
but
business
charging
and
cables
half
into
into
investments.
coupons and a book
Rachel
he'd been
raised
meaning
her
to read for
glass
2 years.
to new
She
beginnings.
checked his dresser
They
drawers,
clinked glasses.
his side of the
Naomi
closet,
felt the weight
under
of the
the
last
bed.
3 months
Nothing
settle
jumped
into
out at
something
her.
manageable.
Maybe he was
She
smarter
wasn't
than
healed
she'd given him
completely.
credit for.
She still had
Maybe
moments
he
of
kept
anger or
everything on
sadness
his
or
phone in his
disbelief.
car at the
But
office.
she was moving forward.
Then she remembered his home
After
office.
lunch, she went back
Troy
to her
had a
office
small
and
room
found
on the
an
first
email
floor
from
that he
Felicia.
used for paperwork
Are you
and
free
late night
Thursday
work
night?
sessions. I want you
She
to speak
rarely
it
got
on
in there
networking
respecting
event.
his space.
Topic.
Now
Starting
she
over
realized
and
that
building your own
respect had been a
success.
mistake.
These women need to
Privacy
hear
was
your
one
story.
thing.
Secrecy
Naomi's
was something
first
else
instinct was to
entirely.
say no.
The office
She
door
wasn't
was
a public
unlocked.
speaker.
Inside,
She didn't
everything
want
was
to air
neat
her
and
pain in
organized.
front of strangers.
Troy had always
But
been
then she thought
particular
about
his
Jennifer,
workspace.
Troy's former employee
Naomi
who
sat
quit.
down at his desk
She
and
thought
opened the
about the
laptop
women who
sitting there.
commented on her
It asked
social
for a
media
password.
post, sharing
She
their
tried
own
their
stories of
anniversary.
betrayal and
Wrong.
survival.
His birthday.
She thought about Angela
Wrong.
and Priya
Her
and all the
birthday.
other women trying
Wrong.
to build something
Then
despite
on a hunch,
obstacles.
she tried
Her
Simone.
story might help
The
someone.
laptop opened.
And wasn't that worth
Naomi
the
sat
discomfort?
back in the chair.
She typed
a
back,
cold anger
"Yes,
spreading through
I'll
her
do it."
chest.
He'd
Thursday
used that
night
woman's
came
name
quickly.
as his password.
The networking
The
event was at a
audacity of it
hotel
was almost
conference room.
impressive.
About
She
50
opened his
women
email
filled the
first.
space, all
There were
ages, all
folders she'd
backgrounds.
never seen before.
Felicia introduced her
labeled
with warmth
personal.
and enthusiasm.
She clicked on it and
Naomi
found hundreds
stood
of
at the front
emails
and
between
looked out
Troy
at the
and
audience.
Simone.
Her
She didn't
hands
read
were
them all.
shaking, but her
She
voice
didn't
was
need
steady.
them.
The
3
subject
months
lines
ago,
told
my
the
husband
story.
was in a car
Last
accident.
night was amazing.
When I got to the hospital,
Can't wait to see
I found
you again.
another woman holding his
Hotel
hand.
confirmation for
I discovered
Friday.
he'd been having
Friday.
an affair for over
That
a
would have
year.
been 3 days ago.
In that moment,
Troy
my
had
marriage,
told her
my
he was going
future,
to a conference.
everything I thought I knew,
She
it all
believed him
shattered.
because why wouldn't she?
She told them about
In
the
10
evidence
years
she'd
together,
gathered,
she'd never had a
about
reason
hiring
not to trust
Veronica,
him. About
She
fighting
opened
for her
another
share
folder.
of the business.
This one was
about
labeled
starting Phoenix
finances.
Consulting with no
Inside
clients
were
and a
credit
lot of
card
fear.
statements for a
I'm
card
not telling
she
you
didn't
this for
recognize.
sympathy, she
She
said.
clicked through them.
I'm
her
telling you
anger
because I
growing
want
with
you
each
to know that
charge.
endings can be
Dinner
beginnings.
at an expensive
I thought
restaurant.
my life was over.
$200.
Instead, I realized
hotel
I'd been
room
living
downtown.
half a life,
$350.
supporting someone else's dreams while
Jewelry
putting mine
from a
on hold.
boutique she'd never
Now
heard
I'm
of. building my own dreams.
$800.
And they're better than
Flowers
anything I
delivered.
imagined before.
$60.
When she finished,
Another
the
hotel.
applause was loud
Another
and
dinner.
genuine.
Another
Women
gift.
came up to her
The charges
afterward,
went back
sharing their
14
own
months.
stories. Over
A
and
woman
over,
named
Troy
Patricia
had sent money
slipped
on
her
a
a business
Simone.
card.
Money
I
from
need
their
a consultant.
accounts. Money
Can we
that
set up a
Naomi had
meeting?
helped earn. Another
Money
money that
that
was
Tasha
supposed to be
hugged
for
her.
their future.
I'm leaving my
She
husband.
did quick math in her head.
He's
and
not
felt
having
sick.
an affair, but
Thousands
he's
and
been thousands of
controlling and
dollars.
dismissive for years.
Maybe close to
Hearing you
30,000
tonight,
over the course
seeing
of
that
the
you
affair.
survived and thrived,
Naomi
it gave me
printed
courage.
everything.
Naomi
emails,
left
the
that event
statements,
with
the
5 new
receipts.
potential clients.
She created
and
a
sense of
folder on the
purpose she'd
desktop
never
and
felt
saved
before.
copies of
The
every
next week,
incriminating
she signed
file
the
she could
divorce
find.
papers. Then she
Veronica
forwarded
handed
everything
them
to
to
her
her
in her
personal
office.
email address.
It's done. Her
You're
phone buzzed
officially
from where she'd
divorced.
left it in the
The
kitchen.
settlement will be
She turned it
finalized
back
within
on
30
without
days.
thinking. Now she could hear it going off over and over.
Congratulations on
Calls
a divorce.
and texts and voicemails
Naomi said with a
piling
dry
up.
laugh.
She ignored them
That
all.
feels weird.
Instead, she called her best friend
Congratulations on your
Rachel.
freedom.
They'd known
Veronica
each other since
corrected.
college, and
That's
Rachel
what
had
this
always
is.
been honest
You're
with
free
her,
now.
even when the
Free.
truth was hard
The
to
word
hear.
resonated. Naomi, she was free.
Oh my God, where have
free
you
from
been?
Troy's lies.
Troy's mother called
free
me
from
looking
a
for you.
marriage that had been
She
one-sided.
said something about an accident.
Free to build the life
What's
she
going
wanted.
on? She went
Naomi's
home that
voice
night to
was
the
steady
house that
when
was
she
now
answered.
solely hers. Troy had
accident
moved out
today.
weeks ago.
He's fine.
She'd redecorated
Broken arm, some
slowly
bruises.
replacing shared
But when I got
memories
to
with
the
new
hospital,
ones. There was a woman
new
with him.
furniture.
Her
New
name is
art.
Simone.
New
They'd
colors.
been having an affair
It didn't
for
feel
over
like
a year.
their house anymore.
Silence on the
Felt
other
like
end.
hers.
Then she poured
I'm
herself
coming
a
over.
glass of wine and
No,
sat
wait.
on her new couch.
I need you to listen.
Her phone buzzed.
I need you to help me
A
think
text from an
clearly.
unknown number.
Naomi looked
I
at
heard
the
about
papers
the
spread
divorce.
across Troy's
I'm
desk.
sorry it came to this.
I found evidence.
I hope you're okay.
Emails.
Simone.
Receipts.
Naomi
He's
stared
been
at the
spending
message.
our money on her.
Part of her wanted
Lots
to
of it.
respond with
I
something
need to know
cutting.
what to do next.
Part of her wanted to
Rachel's
block the
voice
number
shifted
immediately.
from shock to
Instead,
determination.
she wrote back,
First
I'm
thing
better
tomorrow
than
morning
okay.
you call a lawyer.
I hope you learned
the
something
best
from
divorce
this.
lawyer you can find.
She blocked the
You
number and
document
deleted
everything,
the message.
which it sounds like you're
Simone
already
wasn't
doing.
her problem.
You protect yourself.
Simone had been a
You
symptom,
do not let him
the
talk you
disease.
into anything.
The disease had
I'm
been
not
Troy's
going to forgive
selfishness
him
and dishonesty.
Naomi said, but that was
The words
behind
felt
her now.
good to say out loud.
She pulled out her
Final.
laptop and opened
I'm
her
not going to
calendar.
listen to his
She had
excuses
client
or
meetings
his
all week.
apologies. She had
I'm
a
done.
business plan to execute.
Rachel
She
said
had a life to
firmly.
build.
You
And
deserve
for the
so
first
much
time in
better
a
than
long
this.
time, she was
You always
excited
have.
about the future.
They talked for
Naomi
another
should
hour.
have known it wouldn't
Rachel
be that
gave her
easy.
the name of a
The
lawyer
settlement
her cousin
was
had
finalized.
used.
She
The money
offered to come
transfer.
stay with her, but
The house
Naomi
was in her
said
name
no.
only. She needed
Phoenix
to be alone.
Consulting was
She
growing
needed to
steadily.
think.
After
She'd
they
hired
hung
a
up,
part-time assistant
Naomi
and
went
was
through the
looking
rest
at
of the house
expanding
with
to
new
a bigger
eyes.
office space.
She found receipts
Everything was
tucked into
moving
coat
forward.
pockets.
Then
A
Troy
second
showed
phone
up at
hidden
her
in the
office.
garage under some
She was in the
tools.
middle of a
When
client
she turned
meeting
it
with
on,
Angela,
it was full
going
of text
over
messages
quarterly
between Troy
projections.
and Simone.
When her assistant
Sweet
knocked on the
words.
door. Promises.
Naomi, there's someone here
Photos
to
she
see you.
deleted without
He
looking
says
at
it's
too
urgent.
closely.
It was
a
almost
client.
midnight when she
Can they
finally
wait?
stopped.
Her
The
assistant
dining room
looked
table was
uncomfortable.
covered with evidence.
He says he's your
Her evidence.
ex-husband and he's not
Her
leaving until
ammunition.
you talk to him.
Her phone had
Angela's
37
eyes
missed
widened.
calls.
Is
12
that from
from
Troy? Do you
10
want
from
from
his
his call
mother.
security?
8 from
No,
numbers
it's
she
fine.
didn't recognize.
Naomi
Probably
stood
the
up,
hospital.
anger replacing
7 from
surprise.
friends who'd somehow
Give me
heard
5
something.
minutes. She didn't
I'll get
return
rid of
any
him.
of them. She walked
Instead,
out to the
she went
small waiting
upstairs
area.
and took every piece
Troy
of
stood
Troy's
there,
clothing
looking
out of
even
the
worse
closet.
than the last time
Every
she'd
shoe,
seen him.
every
He
tie,
lost more weight.
every jacket.
His clothes were
She
wrinkled.
carried it all
He
downstairs
looked
and
desperate.
piled it in the garage.
You can't just
His
show up at my
toothbrush went in the
office,
trash.
Naomi said
His razor,
coldly.
his
We have
cologne.
nothing to discuss.
Every trace of him
Please.
she could find.
5 minutes.
When she was done, she
That's all
stood
I'm
in the
asking.
middle of the bedroom and
She
looked
glanced
around.
at her assistant.
It looked
who
empty
looked
now,
ready
like
to
half
call
the
the
room.
police.
But it
It's
also
okay.
felt lighter.
Conference room
cleaner.
B.
She
5
made up
minutes.
the bed with fresh sheets.
She led him into the
She took a
small
long
conference
shower.
room and closed
She
the
put
door.
on clean pajamas
didn't
and
sit
got
down.
into bed,
Neither
lying
did he.
in the exact
What
center
do you
of the
want,
mattress
Troy?
instead of on her
I
usual
need help.
side. Her
Help.
phone buzzed again.
She laughed without
Another
humor.
call from Troy.
You need help.
She turned
That's
it off and
rich.
closed her eyes.
My business is
Tomorrow
falling
she would
apart.
start building her
I've
case.
lost clients.
Tomorrow she would
My
start the
reputation is
process of
destroyed.
untangling her
I
life
can't
from
make
his.
payroll.
Tomorrow
I'm going
she
to
would
have to
begin the
close
hard
down.
work of leaving.
And that's my
But
problem.
tonight
How?
she just needed to
You know
sleep.
business
And
operations.
to know that she was
You know
strong
how to
enough
manage
to do
this
what
stuff.
came next.
I need
Because
advice.
she was.
I need
She
you to help me
absolutely was.
figure out how to
The
save
law
the company.
office of Patterson and
Naomi
Associates
stared
was
at him,
located in a
genuinely
tall
shocked.
building downtown.
You have to be joking.
All glass and
You're
steel.
actually asking me to help
Naomi
you
sat
save
in the
the
waiting
business
room
after
after
everything
everything
you
you
did.
did. Her
I know
folder
I
of
messed
evidence
up.
on her lap.
I know I hurt you.
She'd barely
But you don't
slept,
want to
but
see
she
me
looked put
fail, do
together.
you?
You put
Professional.
work into that business.
She'd chosen a black
Don't you
pantsuit
want
and
to
pulled her hair
succeed?
back. I got
She
my
needed
share.
to look like a
What
woman who
happens
knew
to
what
it
she
now
wanted.
is not my concern.
Miss Fletcher?
Naomi,
please.
a woman appeared in the doorway.
His voice cracked.
She was in her
I have
40s
nothing
with
left.
sharp eyes
Simone
and an
left
even
me.
sharper suit.
My mother won't
I'm
speak
Veronica
to me.
Patterson.
I lost the house.
Please come in.
I'm staying in a
The
cheap
office was
apartment.
exactly what
The
Naomi
business is all I
expected.
have.
Leather
If it fails,
chairs,
I have
heavy
nothing.
desk, wall of law
You
books
should have
that
thought
probably
about that
cost
before
more
you
than
cheated
Naomi's
on
car.
me.
I'll do
Veronica
anything.
gestured for her
I'll
to
pay
sit
you for
and
your
settled
time.
behind the desk.
I'll give you
with a
whatever you
notepad.
want.
Rachel
help me
Winters
say
gave me
this.
your name.
She studied
Naomi
him.
started.
The man in
She
front
said
of
you
her
handled
bore
her
little
cousin's
resemblance
divorce
to the
and did an
confident,
excellent
charming
job.
man she'd married.
Rachel's cousin.
He looked broken.
Yes,
I remember
pathetic.
that case. And she felt
Veronica
nothing.
picked up a
No
pen.
pity. Tell
No
me what's going
satisfaction
on.
in his suffering.
Naomi laid it
Just
all
empty
out.
indifference.
The hospital.
No,
The
she
affair.
said simply.
The year of lies.
I won't help you.
The money he'd
Not
spent.
for money, not for
She
anything.
kept
her voice level
made
and
your
factual,
choices,
like she
you
was
live with them.
describing something
That's
that
how
had happened to someone
consequences
else.
work.
Veronica
You're really
listened
going to let
without
me lose
interrupting,
everything?
making notes.
You let yourself
When
lose
Naomi was
everything.
done, she
This
opened the
isn't on
folder
me.
and slid it
This
across
is on
the
you.
desk. She
I
walked
have
to the door and
documentation.
opened it.
Emails.
Leave my office. Text
Don't
messages
come
from a
back.
second phone
Don't
I found.
contact me again.
Credit card
We're done,
statements
Troy.
showing charges for
Permanently.
hotels and gifts.
You've changed,
I printed
he said
everything
bitterly.
and saved
You
copies
used
to
to be
my
kind.
email.
You used to care
Veronica
about
went through the
people.
papers
I
methodically.
still care about
her
people.
expression neutral.
Just not people who
When she
use me.
finished, she looked
Now
up at
leave
Naomi
before I
with
call
something like
security.
approval. He
You've
left,
done
his
good work
shoulders
here.
slumped. Most people
Naomi
come to me
watched him go
emotional
and
and
felt
nothing but
empty-handed.
relief.
You came
Her
prepared.
assistant looked at
That
her
tells
with
me you're
concern.
serious about this.
Are you okay? I am.
I'm fine.
Naomi said.
Is
Angela
I
still
want a
waiting?
divorce. Yes.
I want it fast,
Good.
and I want what
Let's
I'm
finish
entitled
our
to.
meeting. Walk
She
me
went
through
back
your
to
marriage.
work.
How
She
long?
didn't think about
Any
Troy for
children?
the rest of the day.
Assets.
He wasn't
We've
worth
been
her
married
energy.
8 years together.
But apparently
for 10.
he wasn't done
No
trying.
children, thank God.
Over the next
We
week,
own a
he
house
tried
together,
multiple
bought it
approaches.
6 years ago.
He sent
It's
emails
worth
about
about
her
her
business
business
address,
now.
begging for advice.
Still have a mortgage.
She deleted them
Troy
without
has a
reading.
business, a
He
marketing
showed up at her
consulting
house one
firm.
evening.
I helped him
She
start
called the
it.
police and
I
had him
worked 2
removed
jobs
from
to
the
put him
property.
through business school.
He tried to
I
contact
did the
her through
books for the
mutual
first 3 years
acquaintances
until he could
She
afford to
made it
hire
clear
someone.
to everyone that
We
she
have
wanted
joint
no
bank
communication
accounts,
with
joint
him.
credit cards.
Finally, Veronica
Some
called.
retirement accounts.
Troy's lawyer reached
Veronica
out.
made notes.
They want to renegotiate
His
the
business
settlement.
is your name on
Troy
any of
is
the
claiming he
paperwork?
can't pay what he
Articles
owes
of
because his
incorporation?
business is failing.
Partnership
That's
agreements?
his problem.
No,
Exactly
Naomi
what I
admitted.
told him.
The
He
settlement
said
is
it would
final.
be easier for
If he
tax
can't
purposes
pay,
to
we'll
keep
put
it
a
in
lien
his
on his
name
business
only.
assets. I trusted
But
him.
I wanted you to know
That's
he's getting
unfortunate
desperate.
but not uncommon.
Desperate people do
However,
stupid things.
the fact that you
Be
provided
careful.
financial support
I
while
have a
he built the
security
business,
system now
that you did labor
and I'm
for the
documenting
business,
every
that
time
gives
he
us
shows up.
leverage.
If he
Courts
doesn't
recognize
stop,
that a
I'm getting a
spouse who
restraining
supports a
order.
business is entitled to
You're handling
consideration
this
during
well.
divorce proceedings.
After they hung up,
especially in
Naomi
states with
sat in her
community
living
property
room and
laws.
thought about Troy's
Can
desperation.
I get part of the
A
business?
year ago, if he'd been
Possibly.
struggling, she
At
would
the
have
very
dropped
least,
everything to
we
help
can
him.
argue for an
She would have
evaluation
worked
of the
nights
business
and
and a
weekends to
settlement
save
that
his
reflects
business.
your contribution.
She would have sacrificed her
Combined
own
with the
needs for
evidence
his.
of misuse
No.
of marital
She
funds,
felt nothing.
we have a
That was
strong
growth.
case. That was
Veronica
healing.
leaned back
That
in
was
her
her
chair.
learning to protect herself.
Here's what I need from
Rachel
you.
came over that
Bank
night
statements
with
for
pizza
all
and
joint
sympathy.
accounts going
Felicia
back 2
told me
years.
Troy showed up
Mortgage
at your office.
documents.
That's
Any
so messed
paperwork
up.
related to his
He
business
wanted me
that
to
you
help
have
him
access
save his
to.
business.
Your tax
Can
returns.
you believe that?
I'll file for
Actually,
divorce
yes.
and request
Troy has
temporary
always
orders
believed
for
the world
exclusive
revolves
use
around
of the
him.
marital home.
In his mind,
Has he
you
tried to
exist to
contact
support
you?
him.
The fact
Constantly.
that you have your own
Calls,
life
text.
now, that you're
I
not
haven't
interested in
answered.
his problems,
Good.
it doesn't
Keep it that
compute.
way. All
He said,
communication
"I've changed,
goes through me now.
that I used to be
He
kind.
shows up at the house,
You are
you call the
kind.
police. You're kind
You
to
do
people
not
who
engage
deserve
with
him.
him.
That's
You do
not
not
being
listen
mean.
to his
That's
apologies
having
or
boundaries.
explanations.
And it's
Everything
about
he
time
says
you
to
had
you
some.
can and will be
They
used
ate
to
pizza
manipulate
and
you.
watched bad movies
Understand?
and didn't talk about Troy
Naomi
anymore.
nodded.
Because he
She
wasn't
liked
worth their
Veronica.
time. The woman
The
was
harassment
direct, no
continued
nonsense.
for another week.
She didn't waste
Then
time on
abruptly it
sympathy
stopped.
or trying to save
Naomi
the
heard
marriage.
through the business
She treated
community
this like what it
grapevine that
was,
Troy had
a
closed
business
his company.
transaction that had gone
He'd
bad.
sold what assets
One more
remained
thing,
and paid off his
Veronica
debts,
said,
including
the
what
other
he owed
woman,
Naomi.
Simone.
He'd taken
Do
a
you want
job
to
with a
pursue
marketing firm
alienation
as a
of
regular
affection?
employee,
What's
not
that?
an owner.
In
His
some
dream was
states, you
over.
can sue a
The
third
business
party
he
for
built was
interfering in
gone.
a marriage.
Naomi felt
It's
the
not
small
common
pang.
and it's difficult
Not
to
for
win,
Troy, but for the
given the
business
financial
itself.
evidence and the
She'd
length
helped
of the
create it.
affair,
We
we had
might
been
have a
something good
case.
once.
Naomi
But it was
thought
also
about it.
tainted by his
Simone's
lies.
face in that
Maybe it
hospital
was better
room.
that it was gone.
The way she'd held
Clean
Troy's
slate
hand
for
like
both
she had a
of them.
right to.
She
The
focused on
shock when she
Phoenix
realized
Consulting,
Troy had lied to
on
her
her
too.
clients. No,
On building
Naomi
something
said
that was
finally,
clean and honest
she's
and
not worth
entirely
my
hers.
time or energy.
And she slept
Troy
well
is
at
the
night,
one who made
knowing
vows to
she'd
me.
made the right
He's
choices.
the one who broke them.
The final check
Let her
arrived
keep him
on a
if she
Tuesday
wants him.
morning.
My
Naomi
focus is on
opened the
getting what I'm
envelope
owed
from
and
Veronica's
moving on.
office and looked at the
Smart,
number.
Veronica said.
$312,000.
Revenge is expensive
The
and
house
usually
equity, her
unsatisfying.
portion of the business
Living
value,
well is the better
and the
option.
reimbursement for marital
She stood
funds
and
Troy had
extended her
spent on
hand.
his affair.
I'll draw
It
up
was
the
more
papers
money
and
than
have them
Naomi
ready
had
to
ever
file
had
by
at
tomorrow.
once.
If
Once
once they're
they're
filed,
he'll be
She
served.
deposited it
That's
and
when
sat
things
in her
might get
car
ugly.
outside the bank.
He'll try to
just
contact
looking at
you.
the receipt. He'll make promises.
This was her foundation.
He might get angry.
Her security.
Stay strong.
Her future.
Don't engage.
Rachel called.
Naomi
Did you
shook
get
her
it?
hand. I got
won't.
it. I'm
And
done with him.
How do you feel?
She left the office
Weird.
feeling lighter.
It's just money,
She
but
had a
it
plan
represents
now.
so much more.
She had someone fighting
It represents
for her.
justice.
This wasn't just pain and
Vindication.
betrayal anymore.
Proof that I mattered.
This was action. You always
Her
mattered.
phone rang as she
But
walked
yes,
to her
this
car.
is Troy finally
Troy's
paying
mother.
for what he took from
Naomi
me.
almost
What are you
declined
going
it,
to do
then
with
decided
it?
to answer.
Half into the business.
She couldn't avoid his
I want to
family
expand,
forever.
hire a full-time
Naomi,
employee, maybe get a
finally.
bigger office.
Where have you been?
Half into
Troy
investments.
has been trying to reach
I
you.
met with a financial
He's so
advisor
upset.
last week.
He's home from the
She's
hospital
helping me
and
build
he
a
says you
portfolio.
won't answer his calls.
Smart. What's
You're
going
really
on?
doing this, building a
Oh.
whole new life.
Her house was not his
I
home
am,
anymore,
Naomi
Mrs.
said,
Fletcher,
and she heard the
I'm
wonder
sure
in her
Troy
own
told you
voice.
what happened at the
I
hospital.
really am.
That
He said there was a
afternoon, she met with a
misunderstanding.
real estate agent.
That you jumped to
The
conclusions.
house was nice, but it
Honey,
held
he's
too many
hurt and
memories.
confused and he
She
needs
wanted
his wife
something
right
new.
now.
Something
Whatever
that had
you
never
think
happened.
happens,
I'm
only
sure you
hers.
two can work it
They
out.
looked at condos
Naomi
and
took a
townhouses.
deep breath. Nothing
Troy's
felt quite
mother
right
had always
until they
been
walked
kind
into
to
a
her,
loft downtown.
but she was also the
It
type
was
of
modern,
woman who who
Open
believed
concept,
marriage was
lots of
forever,
light.
no matter what.
The complete
There's
opposite
no
of the house she
misunderstanding,
shared with Troy.
Naomi said
I'll
clearly.
take it, she said.
Troy has been having
Don't you
an
want
affair
to think
for over
about
a
it?
year. The agent
I have
asked.
proof. No,
I've hired a lawyer
this is
and
it.
I'm filing for
This is my
divorce.
place.
I'm sorry
The
you're
purchase
caught in the
moved
middle of
quickly.
this, but
She
my
sold the
marriage to
house
your
and
son
used
is
the
over.
profit for a down
Silence.
payment on the loft. Then,
You're
moving
being
day was
hasty.
chaotic but
Every
exciting.
marriage has rough
Rachel and
patches.
Felicia came
You
to
don't
help.
throw away years
So
together
did
because
Angela
of
and
one
Priya
mistake.
and
some of her other clients
1
who
year of
become
mistakes.
friends. They
Naomi
ordered pizza
corrected.
and unpacked
1
boxes
year
and
of
left.
lies.
Her
One
new year
place
of him
slowly
spending
came
our
together.
money on another woman.
Modern furniture.
I'm not being hasty.
Bright colors. I'm being smart.
Art from local
I hope
artists.
you understand that.
Plants everywhere.
Naomi, please.
This is you.
Just talk to
Rachel
him.
said, looking
Just
around.
give him a chance to
This is
explain.
who you are when you're
I have
not
to go.
compromising for
Take
someone
care
else.
of yourself,
Mrs.
Naomi
Fletcher.
agreed.
She
This
hung
felt
up
like
before
her.
Troy's mother
Finally.
could say anything
Phoenix
else.
Consulting
She
moved
felt
to a
bad
bigger
about
space
that
in the
a
same
little.
building, but she couldn't
She
let
hired a
anyone
full-time
pull her
business
backward.
associate,
Not
a
now.
woman named Kendra
When she
who
got
just
home,
finished
she
her
spent the
MBA
rest
and
of
was
the day
eager to
gathering
learn.
documents.
Together they
Bank
refined
statements,
processes, took on
tax
bigger
returns,
clients, started
the
offering
deed
more
to the
jobs.
house.
The
Her
business
marriage
grew
certificate,
faster than Naomi
everything
had projected.
Veronica had asked for
By the
and more.
6-month mark,
She
they were
found her own
profitable.
paperwork
By
too.
9 months, they
Her
were
old
thriving.
college transcripts
Naomi
showing the
started
business
getting
degree
invited
she'd
to
earned
speak
while
at business
working
events.
full-time.
She
Pay
was
stubs
featured
from
in
the
the 2
local
jobs
business
she'd worked
magazine
to support them.
The article
A
was
notebook
titled
where she'd
Rising
done
from
the
the
accounting
Ashes.
for Troy's
How
business
one
in those
woman
early
turned
years,
betrayal into
page
business
after page of her
success.
handwriting
Troy
tracking
would have
income and
hated that
expenses.
article.
The
The
thought
thought
made
made
her
her
smile.
smile. She'd made
She
it
ran into
possible
him
for
once
Troy to
about
succeed,
10 months after
and
the
he
divorce
repaid
was
her by
finalized.
lying to her face
She
for
was
a
at
year
a
while he
business
played
networking
house with
event,
someone else.
talking to
By
potential
evening,
clients.
she had
When
everything
she saw him
organized
across
and
the
ready
room,
to deliver to
he
Veronica
looked better
first
than
thing
the
in the
last
morning.
time she'd seen him.
She ordered
He
takeout for
gained back
dinner
some
and
weight.
ate it sitting on
His
the
clothes
couch,
fit properly.
watching a show she
He was
wanted
talking
to see
to a
but
small
Troy had
group,
always said
probably
was boring.
pitching his
It
services
was actually
as an
pretty
employee
good.
now instead of a
Around
business
9
owner.
p.m.,
He saw
headlights
her.
swept across
Their
the front
eyes met
windows.
across the room.
A car pulled
Naomi
into the
waited for
driveway.
the anger.
Naomi's
The
heart
hurt,
jumped, but
the
she stayed on
bitterness.
the couch.
Nothing came.
The doorbell
She
rang.
felt nothing at all.
Then knocking.
She gave him
Then
a
Troy's
polite
voice.
nod, the
Naomi,
kind you'd give any
I know you're in
acquaintance,
there.
and turned back
Please
to her
just talk to me.
conversation.
5
A
minutes.
few minutes later,
That's
he
all I'm
appeared
asking.
at her elbow. She
Naomi,
muted the TV but
you
didn't
look
move.
good. Naomi,
Thank
come
you.
on.
She
This
kept
is
her tone
ridiculous.
professional,
I made a
distant.
mistake, okay?
I saw the
I
article
know I
about
did,
your business,
but we can fix this.
Congratulations.
We can go to
You're
counseling.
doing well.
We can work
I
through
am.
it. Just
I'm
open
glad.
the door.
I mean that.
His voice was
I'm
desperate,
glad you landed on
pleading.
your feet.
She'd heard him
I
use
didn't
that
land on
tone
my feet,
before when
Troy.
he was trying to
I built
close
a
a
whole
deal
new
with a
foundation.
difficult client. There's a difference.
It was calculated.
He flinched.
Practiced. Right.
She turned the
Well,
volume back
I
up
just
on the
wanted to
TV.
say I'm sorry.
More knocking.
For everything.
More pleading.
I know I hurt you.
Then silence.
I know I was wrong.
She heard his car
I'm
door
working
open
on
and
being
close.
better.
The
That's
engine
good.
started. Everyone
He
should
sat
work
there for
on being
another 5
better.
minutes before
Is there
finally
any chance
backing
we
out
could
of the
get coffee
driveway.
sometime? Naomi
Just
went
to
to the
talk.
window and watched
Naomi
his
looked at
taillights
him.
disappear down
Really
the street.
looked at him.
Then she
She
tried
tried
to
to
find
find
the
the
man
man
she
she'd
turned
loved.
off all the lights
The
and
man
went
she
upstairs
believed
to
in.
bed. But
Tomorrow
tomorrow
the
the
papers would be
Maybe
filed.
he'd never really existed.
Tomorrow it would all become
Maybe
official.
she'd loved a fiction.
But tonight,
a man
she'd
she
stood her
built in
ground.
her imagination,
And that
while
felt
the
like
real
the
Troy
first
had
real
always
victory.
been selfish and
Naomi
small.
couldn't sleep.
No. At 2
She
in the
said
morning,
kindly
she
but
gave up
firmly,
and went downstairs
I
to
don't
make
think that's
tea.
a good idea.
While the water
I hope
boiled,
you're well,
she
Troy.
found herself
I hope
standing
you've
in the
learned from
doorway
this.
of Troy's office.
But you're part of my
looking at
past,
the desk
and I'm
where she
focused
found
on my
all the
future
evidence
now.
just days ago.
I understand.
She thought back to the
He looked
beginning.
sad but not
10
surprised.
years ago. For what
She'd
it's
met
worth,
Troy
I
at a
really
friend's
did love
party.
you.
I
He'd
just
been
didn't know
charming,
how to
funny,
show it.
full of big dreams.
Love isn't just a
He wanted
feeling.
to start his own
It's
marketing
actions.
firm.
It's
He had
choices.
ideas and ambition,
You chose
but
to
no
lie.
money and no degree.
You chose to cheat.
Naomi
You
had
chose
been
to
working as an
disrespect me in
administrative
our marriage.
assistant,
That's
saving
not
money,
love, Troy.
taking night
That's
classes to
selfishness.
finish her own business
He
degree.
nodded slowly.
They'd fallen
You're right.
fast.
I know
Within
you're
6
right.
months, they were living
I need
together.
to get back to my clients.
Within a year, they were engaged.
Take care of yourself.
Troy talked
She
about
walked
the future
away without
constantly,
looking back.
painting pictures of the
rejoined
life
her
they built
conversation,
together,
smiled at a
and
joke
Naomi,
someone made,
young and in
handed
love
out
and
her
believing
business
in him,
card.
had signed
Troy
up for
left
all
the
of it.
event shortly after.
She remembered the
Naomi
conversation
watched
when
him
he'd said
go
he
and
wanted
felt
to
a
go
sense
back
of
to
closure.
school. Not
It's 2
because of
years for an
anything he'd
MBA,
said or
he'd
done,
said,
but because she'd
full-time.
looked at him and
I
felt
can't work
nothing
and
but
do the
indifference.
program, it's too intense.
That was healing. But once
That
I
was
have the
moving
degree,
on.
I can start
That was
the business.
freedom.
We
That
can
night,
really build
she went
something.
home to her loft and
How are we
poured
going to
herself a
pay
glass
for
of
it?
wine.
Naomi
She
had
stood
asked.
at the window,
Tuition
looking out
is
at the city
expensive.
lights, and
And
took
if you're
stock
not
of her
working,
life.
She
You
had
could
a
pick up
successful
extra
business.
hours, right?
She had
Or get a
financial
second
security.
job.
She
Just
had
for
friends
2
who
years.
supported her.
I'll make it up
She
to
had a
you,
home
I
she
promise.
loved. Once
She
the
had her
business takes
self-respect.
off, you'll never have
She'd
to work
start it
again
over
if you
from
don't want
nothing
to.
and build something
She'd done it.
beautiful.
She'd
The
picked
best
up a second
revenge
job
she'd learned
working
wasn't
retail on
destroying
weekends.
Troy.
She
She'd
was
gone to
building
her
her
own
life
classes
so good
at
that he
night,
became
dead
irrelevant.
tired but
And
determined
that's
to finish her
exactly what
degree.
she'd done. She'd packed
1 year
Troy's
and 2
lunches and
months
helped
after
him study
studying
out
and
of that
listened to him
hospital
practice
room.
presentations.
Naomi stood on the
She
stage at
believed
the
in him.
regional women's
When he
business
graduated,
conference.
she'd been
The
in the
ballroom
audience,
was packed with
cheering
over
louder
200
than anyone.
women entrepreneurs.
They'd gotten married
This
a
was the
month
biggest
later,
speaking
a small
engagement she'd
ceremony
done
yet.
because they didn't have
Her
money
palms
for
were
anything
sweaty, but
elaborate.
her voice was strong as
Naomi
she
had
told
worn
her
a simple
story.
dress and
The
they'd had the
betrayal,
reception at
the
a friend's
divorce,
backyard.
the decision to
came to
start
business.
Phoenix Consulting.
I need capital.
The growth and
Troy
success that
said.
had followed.
Startup
The most
costs.
important thing I
Equipment,
learned, she said,
website,
looking out at
marketing
the
materials,
audience, is that
and
you
I need
can't
to be
build
able
a
to
future
support
on
us for
someone
at least
else's
6 months
foundation
while I get clients.
You have to build your own.
And
Naomi had
yes,
taken
it's
out a
scary.
loan using
Yes,
her
it's
credit.
hard. But
She
it's
kept
yours.
working both
No
jobs.
one can take it away
Troy
from
had
you.
worked from home,
No one can
making
claim
calls,
credit for
building
it.
a client list,
It's yours.
creating presentations.
The applause was
and
thunderous.
Naomi had done the books
Women
because
stood.
they couldn't afford
Naomi
to hire
felt
anyone.
tears prick her eyes,
She
but
remembered
she
sitting
blinked
at
them
this
back.
very desk,
These
learning
weren't
accounting
tears of
software,
sadness.
tracking every
These
dollar
were
in
tears
and
of
every dollar
gratitude
out.
and pride.
She'd caught
After
errors
the
that could have
speech,
cost
she
them.
was mobbed by
She'd
women
managed
wanting
the
to talk,
finances while
to share
Troy
their
managed the
stories, to
creative
ask for
side.
advice. The business
She
had
handed
grown
out
slowly.
business cards until
One
she ran
client,
out.
then
She
3,
exchanged
then
contact
10.
information
After
with
a
at least
year,
30
Troy
potential
landed a big
clients.
contract with a
Felicia
local company.
found her afterward.
Suddenly there was
You
real
were
money coming
magnificent.
in.
You've
He'd
come
hired
so
his
far.
first employee.
I had good
Then
teachers.
a second.
Naomi
Then they'd
said,
moved the
hugging her
operation
mentor.
out of the house and
Thank you
into
for
a small
everything.
office. You did
You
the
can
work.
quit the retail
I
job.
just pointed you
Troy
in the
had
right
told her.
direction. Focus on
Later,
your work.
Naomi met
We're
Rachel for
stable
dinner
now.
at their favorite
She had.
restaurant.
They
Kept
sat
doing
on
the
the
books
patio,
for another
wine
year,
glasses in
but
hand,
eventually
watching
Troy
the
hired a
sunset.
proper accountant.
I'm proud of you,
Naomi had
Rachel
been
said.
relieved. I
She'd
know I
gotten
say
a
that a
better
lot,
job,
but I mean
a
it.
position with a
You took the
nonprofit
worst
that
thing
paid
that ever
decently
happened to
and
you
had
and
good
turned it
benefits.
into something
Her
amazing.
own career had
It
started
didn't
to
feel
develop.
amazing at the time.
She'd been proud of them.
It felt like
They
they
were
were building a life
But
together.
you didn't die.
They'd bought
You
this
transformed.
house. They talked
Like a
about
phoenix.
starting a family someday.
Rachel grinned.
Everything had
Hence
seemed
the
perfect.
name.
But
Hence
thinking
the
back
name.
now,
Naomi
Naomi
agreed
could
with
see
a laugh.
cracks she'd ignored.
They ordered food
Troy
and talked
working
about
late
everything
more and
and
more
nothing.
often.
Troy
Work and
taking
life
business
and
trips
Rachel's new
that seemed
boyfriend and
unnecessary.
Naomi's expanding
Troy
business.
becoming secretive
It
about
felt
his
light.
phone.
It felt
When had
happy.
it started?
Have you thought
When
about
had he
dating?
decided she wasn't
Rachel
enough?
asked carefully.
When had he looked at
Not
everything
really.
she'd
I've
sacrificed
been
for him
focused on
and
the
decided
business.
it didn't matter?
But eventually,
She thought about Simone.
Eventually, maybe.
Young, pretty,
But I'm in
probably
no
impressed
rush.
by Troy's
I
success.
like my life right
She
now.
didn't know that
I
success
like having
existed
space to
because
figure
of
out
Naomi.
who I am outside
She
of a
didn't know
relationship.
about the 2 jobs or the
Fair
loans
enough.
or the nights
But
of
when
doing
you're ready,
accounting work
promise
after a
me
full
you'll
day
look
for
for
someone
some
who
work.
sees your worth. Simone had gotten
Someone
the
who
finished
adds
product.
to your life
The
instead of
successful
taking from it.
businessman with a nice
I
car and
promise.
expense account
But
dinners.
honestly, Rachel,
She
right
hadn't
now
had
I'm
to
enough
build
for
him
myself.
up from nothing. I don't need
The
someone to
kettle whistled.
complete me. Naomi
I'm
went to
already
make her
whole.
tea, but instead
Rachel
of drinking
raised
it,
her
she
glass
dumped it down the
to
sink.
being whole.
She wasn't
They
tired.
clinked glasses
She
and
was
drank,
angry.
watching the
She
sun
went
sink
back to
lower.
Troy's office and
Naomi's
turned on his
phone
computer.
buzzed.
An
It
email
still opened to
notification.
Simone's name.
She glanced
She
at
went
it and
through his
smiled.
business files
It
now,
was from a
looking with
major
different eyes,
corporation. The
asking
company was
if
worth
Phoenix
something.
Consulting would be
Troy had
interested in
6
bidding on a
employees.
contract to
He
help
had
support
ongoing
their
contracts
women-owned
with a
supplier
dozen
programs.
programs.
The
Good
revenue
news?
last year had
Rachel
been over
asked.
$800,000.
Great news. Phoenix
After
just got
expenses
invited
and
to bid
payroll
on a major
Troy's
contract.
personal income had
This
been
could be
close to
huge for us.
$200,000. Look at you
200,000.
building an empire.
And he'd
Not
spent
an
$30,000
empire,
of it on
just
his
a good,
mistress.
solid business.
Naomi opened
Something
a
I can be
document
proud
labeled
of.
Business Plan
They finished dinner and
2025.
walked through downtown.
She read through it.
The city was
Troy
alive
was
with
planning
people
to
and lights
expand.
and energy.
Hire more staff.
Naomi felt part
Move
of it
to a
all in
bigger
a way
office.
she never had
He
before.
projected revenue
She wasn't
of over
hiding.
$1 million
She
next
wasn't
year.
small.
She'd helped
She was
build
fully
this.
herself,
She'd
taking
made
up
it possible,
space,
living loudly.
Now she was going to take
When
her
she
share.
got home to her loft,
She printed the
kicked
business
off her
plan.
heels and poured
She
herself
printed
a glass
financial
of water.
statements.
She stood
She
at the
printed
window like
everything
she
that
did
showed
most
the
nights,
company's worth.
looking out at the
She
view that
added
was
it all
hers
to
alone.
her folder for
Her phone
Veronica.
buzzed again. When Dawn
A text
started
from
to break
Kendra.
through the windows,
I finished
Naomi
the
was
proposal
still
for
at
the
the
client
desk,
meeting
surrounded
tomorrow.
by papers.
Strong.
She
We're going
documented
to get
everything.
this contract.
The timeline of
Naomi
the business.
smiled.
Her
She built a
contributions.
team.
She
The loans
created
she'd
something
taken,
that was bigger
the
than
work
herself,
she'd done,
something
the
that would keep
sacrifices
growing
she'd
and helping
made.
people long
This
after
wasn't
she
just
was
about
done.
the affair
She
anymore.
thought about Troy briefly.
This was about justice.
He was working for
About
someone
being
else now,
compensated
earning
for
for
her
her
labor
living
and
her
her small
faith
life.
and her partnership.
She didn't wish him
Troy
ill.
had treated her
She
like
didn't
she
wish
was
him well
disposable.
either.
She
Like her
simply
years
didn't
of
think
support
about him
meant
much at all
nothing.
anymore. Like he could just
He was a
replace her
chapter
with
in her
someone
story.
shinier and newer,
An important
and it
one
wouldn't matter.
because it had taught her
He was
hard
about
lessons.
to learn how much it
But the
mattered.
story didn't end
She
with
gathered
him.
everything and
It
put
didn't
it in
even
a box.
really begin with him.
She'd take it to
It began
Veronica
with
today.
her.
And then
Naomi
she'd start
deciding
thinking
she
about
was
her
worth
own
more.
future.
Worth
Not
better.
their future.
Worth fighting for.
Not the future Troy
She'd
had
fought.
promised.
She'd
Her
won.
own. Not
She'd
because
spent
she
10
destroyed
years building
Troy,
someone
but
else's
because she
dream.
built something
It was
beautiful
time to
from
build
the
her
ruins
own.
of her old life.
Veronica called 3
She
days
opened her
later.
laptop and
The
pulled up her
papers have been
calendar for
filed
the
and
next
Troy
week.
has been served.
Client meetings,
How are you
speaking
holding up?
engagements, interviews
Naomi
with
was sitting in
potential
her
new
living
hires.
room, laptop
Phoenix
open,
was growing and
working
she
on
was
something
growing
that
with
had
it.
been growing in
There
her
was a
mind
knock at
since
her
that
door.
sleepless night.
She looked through
I'm
the
okay.
peephole and saw
Has
her
he
neighbor,
responded?
Mrs. Park,
Not
an elderly
formally
woman
yet.
who lived next
He
door.
has 30 days to
Mrs.
respond.
Park, is everything
But
okay?
I've already received
Everything
calls
is
from a
fine,
lawyer
dear.
claiming to
I
represent
just wanted
him.
to give you this.
Someone named Michael
She
Barnes.
held out a small
Do you
plant
know
in a
him?
clay pot.
No.
It's an aloe plant.
Expensive lawyer.
Very resilient.
Corporate type.
It grows
Troy
even
is
in
taking
difficult
this
conditions.
seriously.
It
Veronica's
reminded me
tone
of you.
suggested this was
Naomi
good
took
news.
the plant, touched.
That means he knows
Thank
he's
you.
in trouble.
That's very kind.
I've sent Barnes all
You're a
our
good neighbor.
documentation about
And I
the
admire
affair
you.
and the misuse
I see
of
you
marital
leaving for
funds.
work every day,
I've
coming
also
home late,
included your
working
records
hard.
of contributions
My husband
to
was
his
like
business.
your ex-husband.
We've requested
thought
a
I
full
existed to serve
evaluation
him.
of Fletcher
I
Marketing
stayed for 40
Consulting.
years because I
What
didn't
does
know
that
I could
mean?
leave.
It
Watching
means
you
we
bring
start
in a
over.
professional
It
to
makes me
assess
think
what the
about all
business
the
is
women
worth.
who stayed because
Then
they
we
didn't
negotiate
negotiate
your
your
share.
share. Given
It's
your
never too late to
contributions,
start
both
over.
financial
Naomi
labor,
said softly.
I think we have a strong
me it
case
is.
for at least
I'm
30%
83
of
years
the
old.
business value. My husband is gone
30%.
now. But
Naomi
I'm
did
glad
quick
women your
math.
age know they
If the
have
business
choices.
was worth $1 million
You're
or
making
more,
a difference.
30% was
Remember
serious
that.
money. What
After
about
Mrs.
the house?
Park left,
That's
Naomi
easier.
set the
You
aloe
both
plant
own
on
it.
her windowsill
We'll
next
push
to
for
her
you to
other
keep the
plants.
house and for Troy to buy
Resilient,
out your share of the
growing
equity,
even in
or
difficult
we sell it and
conditions.
split the proceeds.
Yes, that felt right.
Given his behavior,
She thought about
I think
all
we
the
can
women
make a
she'd
strong
helped this
case for
year.
you keeping it.
Angela's
You'll
catering
need to
business had
refinance
doubled
in your
in
name
size,
only,
but with
Priya's
your income
boutique
was
credit,
now
that
profitable
should be
and
doable.
expanding.
And
The
the money
woman
he
who'd
spent on
approached her after
Simone,
that first
that's
speaking
marital
engagement,
asset
Tasha,
dissipation.
had left her
We're
controlling
demanding
husband and started a
reimbursement.
consulting
He
business
spent
of her own.
approximately
She was making a
$32,000
difference
on his affair partner.
not just for herself,
That's
but for others.
$32,000 that should be
That night,
returned to
she
the
slept
marital
deeply
estate
and
and
dreamlessly.
split between you. No
Or
nightmares.
more likely,
no
we'll use it as
anxiety.
leverage in the
Just
overall
rest.
settlement.
When she woke up,
Naomi
sunlight
felt
streamed
satisfaction
through her
settling in her
windows.
chest. She made
This was
coffee
happening.
and stood on her
It was
small
real.
balcony
There's
watching the
something
city
else,
wake up.
Veronica
She
said.
thought about that moment
I got
in
a
the
call
hospital.
from Mrs. Fletcher,
The worst moment of
Troy's
her life.
mother.
The moment
She asked if
everything
she could
shattered.
speak to you.
She could go
What did
back
you
and
say?
avoid it, would she?
I told her all
No,
communication
because that
goes through
shattering
me.
had freed
She
her.
said Troy is
It had
devastated.
forced her to rebuild.
That he's remorseful.
And in rebuilding,
that he
she
wants to
created
go to
something
counseling.
better than what she'd had before.
He wants to save his
She
business,
created a
not
life
our
that was
marriage.
truly hers.
That's my read
Her
too.
phone buzzed with a text
Veronica
from
paused.
Rachel.
Naomi,
Coffee
you
this
need
morning?
to prepare yourself.
I want to hear about
This is
the
going to get
conference.
harder before it gets
30
easier.
minutes.
Troy's
Usual
going to try
place.
everything.
Naomi
Apologies,
got dressed, grabbed her
promises,
bag,
maybe
and
even
headed
threats.
out. He
As
might
she
show
locked
up
her
at your
door,
house
she
again.
caught sight of
He
her
might try to
reflection
use
in the hallway
mutual
mirror.
friends to reach you.
She looked different
Stay
than she had a
strong.
year ago.
I will.
Not just her
Naomi
clothes or her
promised.
hair, though
After
those
they
had
hung
changed
up,
too.
Naomi
There
went
was
back
something
to her
in her
laptop.
eyes.
She'd been
Confidence,
working on a business
strength,
plan of her own.
self-knowledge,
Something
She
that had
smiled at her
crystallized in her
reflection.
mind after going
Good
through
morning,
all those
Naomi,
records of
she
Troy's
said to
business.
herself. She knew
Let's
marketing.
go build something
She'd
amazing.
learned it by osmosis
did.
by doing